Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brianna and I'm a 3rd grade teacher in North Carolina. It is a work day, so this is what we're working with. Hair is pulled back, comfy clothes are on. This is my shirt that I got from Etsy. It says in my dog mom era, you know. This lanyard is also from Etsy. I will link it down below. I love it so much. But I am working on organizing today, so let me show you my plan. So I cleared off and wiped down my table with a Clorox wipe, and I have this drawer and the bottom drawer completely full, and they're the big ones, of stuff that needs to be filed away. So I'm going to sort it into piles and then get it in the right home. My drawers are empty, everything is filed, and then I have laid out my week's copies. We have a couple tests this week, so okay, so that's good to go. I pulled out, this is like a file folder expandable thing from Temu. It's probably like $5. I have all my Studies Weekly newspapers in here. This is what the county gives us for social studies. And I need week 5, and I sorted them by week. And they're already separated, so I can pull that out. And then I just keep this back on top of my cubby over there. All of these are my coworker's old 3rd grade files. She teaches kindergarten now, so she gave them to me, and I'm just trying to go through them when I'm planning that topic and then get rid of what I don't need. They were all in this bin, but I need this bin to sort like future copies. So this is 3 weeks of Monday through Friday that I can sort anything that's upcoming, and then anything that I will get to later I keep in the back there. That way it's like starting to be organized before it comes behind my desk. And I have this lovely smiley face here to block that so no one can see. And this whiteboard easel kind of shifts around my room. It usually sits here throughout the day in front of my filing cabinet, but which is nice because this is my calm down corner too. So if a child wants privacy now, they will have it, which is really convenient. So I've had a delayed start on writing, but I am starting with all the components of a sentence first. So I started teaching nouns last week. We're going to do some activities with it this week, hopefully get to verbs this week as well. But with all of the beginning of the year testing and drills, this is the thing that gets put on the back burner. I'm also using the Friendly Teacher punctuation and capitalization lessons. So I just went around the room and I bought from Amazon, I'll link them below, these little push pins that have clothespins on them for my task cards. My walls I can put push pins in, so that's amazing. I wanted my reading ones to be a different color than my math ones. These are the Not So Wimpy task cards, and they are all around the room. Now where I don't have a wall, but I wanted to use the space, I used a sticky clip. I have some around the kids' cubbies, and I try to keep the task cards paired with a math card because they do it at a different time, but I wanted them to have room to move. So I printed the recording sheet for that. I printed out the Magic of Math Patterns unit because I am starting this on Monday, so I want to pull what I want to use from this. I'm really excited to make like this big multiplication chart and do all this stuff with colorful paper. So that's what we're gonna do. Isn't learning so much more fun when it's in color? I took the daily word problems and I just cut them and taped them all to one page so that I only have to hand my students one sheet. instead of having all the same word problem on a sheet and having to cut it out. And then I printed the multiplication chart on green paper. So this will be an activity in their notebooks. I love having the time to go through my posters in my cabinet. I put up my multiplication keywords because we are finishing up that this week. So division will be next week. Love that it's all in that area. Obviously this cabinet would be closed. I am going to spray those with matte clear coat spray paint before I leave, so there's not a glare. And then while I was in my cabinet, I found my huge character traits poster, which we made years ago when I first joined the grade level. And it's weird because I actually just made copies of this to put in my kid's notebook because we glued in a ton of traits, but this one is my favorite because some of the other ones have a ton of feelings on them and it just confuses my kids. So I like how, like, obviously you have confident and nervous characters, some who do a little, some who do a little, some who do a lot, positive traits in general, negative traits, and then your general nice, mean, sad, but like deeper thinking words, which is what we're really focused on. So that fit perfectly on my reading board. I absolutely love that. Does it bother y'all that I have random math task cards on my reading board? Please tell me. I just would really love to know. I was really just looking for a multiplication chart because I thought I had a huge one. So let me keep looking. Well, I do in fact have a huge one. I didn't know that it had the equations in it, but it's kind of nice. And it has all the different symbols that they'll see in the future. Obviously not in 3rd grade, but for multiplication. So I'm gonna find a spot to hang this up. I'm just gonna lay it out for a little so it flattens a bit. I don't know if it's something that I like want on display. I feel like that's my only big spot to have it, but I might like pull it to the front of the room when we're talking about patterns. But also it's kind of weird because this side stops at 9, but the bottom goes to 10. Interesting. So I got this pocket chart for my Letterland cards, I believe through like the fundraiser website, but the pockets themselves are way too, you know what, I just had a really good thought. I was literally going to say like they're too thin so they all fold. What if I like took this threading out so I can slide it through both? Ooh, then I don't have to buy a new one because that 2 of them is the perfect size and it would keep them in place. Fabulous. Okay, I'm going to do that. I added sticky clips to the bottom of these posters. I know they're not perfectly straight, but it's okay. That way they don't fall because one of them did. So now I can switch them out based on what we are learning. And I have my laminator going over here. This is my old laminator. I just keep this one at school. I'll link it down below. I'll link the laminating sheets I use as well. These are from that friendly teacher for the punctuation capitalization lesson that I had on my board already, but I just want to laminate them. Nouns, this is from Rooted in Reading maybe. So gonna do that one too. And then these are just the questions for multiplication tables, so I'm just going to laminate them so I can have them every year. Okay, so I used my X-Acto knife and pulled the thread out. I think maybe I should have left some in between because this is going to get flimsy, or I can put like a hot glue dot, but it's still helpful. So I'll probably have my assistant do the rest of that. So far so good. Okay, so my pattern questions are cut out, laminated, and then I hole punched them and put them on a ring. And I'm going to hang them right behind me so they're ready. I am going to teach this lesson in small group, I've decided. Some of the questions, like this one, mix up some of the numbers. Can you fix the mixed up products? It's when you have a multiplication chart you can manipulate, but I think with all the numbers, they would move out of place unless I made it Velcro. I think I'm going to print this one and have this one like on my table in the center, or maybe like, I don't know if I want one in front of the kids. I think I'll just have one in the middle as my teaching tool. And maybe I'll make mini numbers of these, or mini little squares to cover up certain ones, but I'm going to laminate it, so I can also like draw on it with Expo, but I wouldn't be able to mix them up. But I feel like having one that's set would be easiest, and then pieces to move around it to manipulate it would be helpful. Ooh, and you know what I could put on the back of them? That tacky glue. Okay, so I printed a pink chart that I'm going to have taped down, and then I printed a purple chart and just cut out the squares, and then I just put this tack it over and over glue on it on the number side, so when this dries the back will be tacky, so when I place it to cover up something it won't easily slide around, but I'll be able to peel it right back up. This is not great for hanging things but for an activity like this, I feel like it's going to work great. So I'm supposed to let it dry for, I have no idea. So I'm just gonna let these dry and then use them on Monday. So since I've decided to teach patterns at small group, my kids' independent work is going to be their multiplication CFA, because they should be able to solve all of these now. We've done a lot of practice. So CFA, common formative assessment, so we can see where they're at. Personally, I check my kids' work daily, so I always know where they're at, but this is a requirement. So this I can work in and catch up a little bit because I am slightly behind. So we'll see if I can make this work. But yes, I use my top one is labeled independent, and their math independent work is always in here. Math the Room is where their task card recording sheet usually is, or if they're doing a certain activity and they need supplies for Math the Room rotation, it'll be in there. And then I have manipulatives and whiteboards down here. I used to have the kids keep their Chromebooks in here, but we don't use them throughout the day as much right now. So yes. So the multiplication chart and the even and odd and like multiples is really all we do in 3rd grade in North Carolina for patterns. So I printed these little cards to use in small group that were in the Magic of Math. I printed 2 more multiplication charts so that I can spread them out on my table so that the kids can see them. And then I am going to make, I wasn't going to, but I'm gonna make the even times an odd, odd times an odd anchor chart, because majority of the questions asked of them on a multiplication chart is if their product is odd or even. So since it is such a standout topic and like keywords, I guess, I decided I would go ahead and make the anchor chart that went with Magic of Math. But typically 2 of these are on 1 page in Magic of Math, so I put 2 to 1. I did stop at a used bookstore yesterday. It's like the library of Barnes and Noble of literally glory. So for one of our reading lessons, we're doing the art lesson, and I don't like to have the kids listen to the read aloud. I like to read it, so I grabbed myself a copy for 95 cents. In Division, I thought I had a copy of this, but I guess I didn't. I don't know. So I got The Doorbell Rang, because this is how we introduced Division. And then I got the first 3 series of Unfortunate Events. I loved these when I was in elementary school. They were just so odd and cool. So I thought I'll start with the first 3. Unfortunately, this one looks different than the rest, but that's okay. And then also the words are not as intimidating since they take up less of the page. I don't know if these look the same. They're larger text, so that's usually less intimidating as a chapter book. And then Well, this is a shame because it was 35 cents wherever the person bought it, and I bought it for 125, but that's okay. I love the fractured fairy tales, so I found 2 of those while I was looking for others. Okay, so ignore how I'm totally misusing this planner, but I wanted to write out my thoughts here. For math, I think I'm going to try 6 students at a time. I have 18. So then I only need 3 rotations, and my rotations can be longer. I had multiplication word problem practice that I haven't done independently yet. However, there's only 1 word problem on their CFA, and we've been practicing word problems every day, so I think they'll be good. Small group, I'm gonna do the multiplication table. Independent, they're doing that CFA. And then technology, I always have them get on extra math before they get on their IXL skills. So this excites me. I like this. The only other thing I really wanted to look into today, because I can look into Studies Weekly at home, maybe, and decide what copies I need. Maybe I'll print the masters so I have them and then decide how I want to do this. I'm gonna have that stuff ready for social studies. I want to look at the 2nd grade NC Ready. So I have the 2nd grade NC Ready books. I think they're the same company as iReady, I'm pretty sure, but it's just specific to North Carolina. And for my lower readers, I might pull some of these passages for them to use instead of the 3rd grade text. That way they can access it, because I want them to be able to understand and respond. Just be able to be successful independently. So with a text more on their level, then they won't struggle through it as much. I wanted to look through that, but I can also do that at home. And then I want to plan reading groups, because all assessments are done. We've taken our first reading test, which is helpful, because just because they score low on M-Class doesn't mean they scored low on their test. I have a student who struggles with speech, and so he's in the red on M-Class just because he really focuses on his sounds when he's reading out loud, but he can read and comprehend. So he made an 87 on his first reading test. So clearly that's going to help me organize where he needs to be with reading groups and stuff. So I want to pick some of that stuff out, and then I'll probably bring home a book of each of them to look over at home. That way I don't have to be here for much longer, because I have got a lot of accomplished. Okay, so I've gone through my personal copies of book sets, and I think I've kind of decided where I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna bring 1 copy of each one home to kind of make some plans. I think this will have some character traits in it, but I'm gonna use Ranger in Time, Rescue on the Oregon Trail for my highest group, and then Holy Enchilada, oh goodness, this is such an old book, for my next group. And then I'm gonna read these. Honestly, we'll probably use several of them for my middle group. They can read 3rd grade text. They did well on their test. These are like middle of the year 3rd grade though, so we'll see how hard they are. I got all of these through teaching summer school. One of the perks is I get to take the materials home. This was a discarded book from the library, and it had all of them, see, because it's old and ripped. And then this I got through Scholastic book clubs. And then the final one, I have the Phonics Reading and Me 2nd grade set from summer school. And it has like all these plans with it and stuff. So for one of my lower groups, I'm gonna see if I can use this. I'm hoping I can go use these books kind of in order in the set. It's that big thing up there that says set C. See, these are more like decodables, which is awesome for them. My group below that, I have a bunch of these books from summer school that haven't been used yet, the Phonics for Reading. So I think I'm going to have, because this is very like scripted, I think I'm gonna have my assistant do this with them. So that will be amazing. So I'm gonna bring this home and get some lesson plans made.